Every single knife from today's video is an absolute banger. You cannot go wrong with any knife from today's video. And starting it off is a knife that just dropped just now, the Sharp by Designs Derecho. And the Derecho has a harpoon hawkbill blade with a beautiful satin finish. And I've just recently got it, so I've only had it a few days, but I freaking love it. I've been carrying the hell out of it. This hawkbill blade is nasty. You do have to be careful though if you get it. This tip is very breakable. It is like the most precision tip you could imagine. And if you drag it across something too rough or drop it or anything like that, it probably will chip. But as far as performance goes, 10 out of 10 performance, especially for a hawkbill, man. You just touch this tip to something, it's yanking it right in. And obviously this is really good at opening packages and things like that. We have an M390 blade. Then we have a titanium frame lock. I got the fat carbon fiber inlays. There was a couple different options, or there's a few different options. I will have it all linked down in the description for you guys. The titanium mill pocket clip works great. It's a little tight, but it works great. It's smoothened now the pocket aside from, you know, its tightness, which eventually does break in. Using the detent nub, this is a top tier production knife. Not too many knives can stand toe-to-toe with a Sharp by Designs production knife. They do an incredible job, and the reason why is because Brian Nadeau is already a knife maker, so he's able to take his CAD files, whatever you want to call it, and send it right to Riyadh, and they're able to basically make it just like he would in his own shop. So can't say enough good things about this knife, and like I said, it is available right now. And the next knife is actually a pre-order knife, so it hasn't dropped yet, but it will be coming very soon. But damn it, this thing is good. This is the One Track Mind Irie, and it is made by Kunwu. They are the maker, but Steve Joyce, who, you know, is One Track Mind, is the designer, and he knocked the design right out of the park. Absolutely. And Kunwu did a phenomenal job with it. You know, any little nitpicks that I could possibly have are nowhere near a deal breaker or anything like that. DLC harpooned sheep's foot blade. I freaking love DLC. This is 20 CV. HRC is 61 to 62. And the front flipping action, well, actually, you know what? Let's go to the handle material. So we have a titanium bolster lock, which, if you know knives, is pretty obvious here. Like the pivot, it's got a nice little shape to it. Carbon fiber handles, and then, you know, there's a couple different color options. Titanium mill pocket clip and geared titanium backspacer. It's actually kind of crowned. That looks really, really nice. Now, the access to the lock bar has nice texturing on it. There's a nice chamfer and texturing on it. And the thumb studs make it to where it has an incredible thumb stud opening deployment on top of a phenomenal reverse flick or even thumb flick deployment. This is a phenomenal hole deployment knife. If you like hole deployment knives, this one's right up your alley. And the front flipper works just as good. And that's great when you can get all three of these to line right up as good as this does. Ergonomics in my hand are hand melting. This thing, I could use this all day long, no problems. You can choke up. Pinch grips are going to be good. You can even turn it around and cut straps. It's not going to be good in the gas station knife fighting grip just because, you know, it's not that type of knife. But for utility purposes, for EDC, for slicing, cutting performance, all that, oh my goodness, this thing's going to just be an absolute badass knife to use. The geometry is really, really well done. Beautiful sharpening tool and plunge grind. Look at all that life. That's my type of plunge grind. And it's not that the choil's so big, it's just, you know, the distance away from the actual end of the plunge grind. All in all, the sound, listen to the sound. It has a great sound to it. That, like I said, I just can't get over these ergonomics because it's like slightly contoured, and this size and thickness is just perfect in my hand. The drop on it is a guillotine. I did hear Lefty EDC talk about the detent being a little late and possibly putting a ramp in. You know, it's nice if the detent was just early, then you don't have to have a ramp, so you can literally just unlock it and it's already on the detent ball. But right-handed, I don't have an issue because the detent ball is here, and when I drop it, it drops to there. And that's with me holding as high as I can. Well, maybe not as high as I can, but very, very high on it, the comfortable spot for me. For a lefty, though, yeah, because they do it like this, and then, you know, they would fumble it right there, so they'd have to click it over. So that makes sense, but this is going to be a knife that's really, really good for lefties or righties because the clip is reversible and it's a bolster lock. So, like I said, all in all, this is an absolute badass knife. Next, the Giant Mouse Tribeca. You're going to notice a little theme here going forward. The Tribeca is a Giant Mouse knife. These are made in Italy. It's in Magna Cut steel, and it has a steel liner lock with titanium scales and a brass backspacer. Deep carry wire clip that is reversible. Insane action, man. The detent on this is tuned to perfection. There is a couple different versions of this, by the way, different price ranges. There's a G10 model and I believe a micarta option, but the flipper tab, it is so comfortable and it just works so good. The detent, I wouldn't look at it and think that this is going to be a flipper tab that's going to work as good as it does. It is so snappy and it has a cool sound. The whole deployment lands in a perfect spot. They tuned this detent just perfect for this knife, man. It's actually, you know, you can get a knife in hand, and if the detent and the deployments just line up and are very comfortable and it just has incredible action, that can just make a knife just absolutely feel incredible, even though it has nothing to do with it being an actual knife. But for me personally, I like action, and when you're spending money, especially, you know, premium money, you want to know you have, you know, all the bells and whistles. Crowned spine, and the geometry, you know, it's not super thin. Italians do usually like to go a little bit on the thicker side in a lot of cases, but it's good. It's still nice and slicey, plenty slicey. So I wouldn't say this is thick at all. It's just not like super, super thin geometry, but that'll be actually a plus for a lot of people. You can choke up, you can choke back. Access to the liner is decent. It does have, you know, you can see it poking up right there. I usually prefer just a tiny bit more, but it's so good. I don't even care about that. Wire clips are like the best clips you can get, and this is going to be phenomenal for righties or lefties because, you know, it's a liner lock. So the Tribeca by Giant Mouse. Again, you're going to see some similarities. This is the Vosteed Psyop, one of their new models. I've had it already in a couple videos, so I'll get through it pretty quick. We have an L Max blade, and I do have a beautiful mirror polished edge. My goodness, this thing took a ridiculous edge, and I have been using it and testing it. It has a titanium frame, titanium scales, titanium mill pocket clip, and backspacer, lots of milling on the inside, and it does have steel liners because it is a compression lock or their top liner lock. So the top liner lock is basically a compression lock with a button attached, making it a nice, durable, strong lock while also being very, very consistent with the detent. So you got a nice, strong lock with a very fidgety action. The front flipper works super, super good. Very easy to deploy, and you can use the lock too to deploy the knife by pushing the button and swinging it. And the hole deployment also placed very well. Not the sharpest hole, but you really don't need it because you have that was my fault. You have so much leverage already. Ergonomics, phenomenal ergonomics. The clip works great. You know, it's got a lot of length to it, so it's got, you know, a lot of spring. And yeah, man, this one, I think this is an attractive looking knife, you know, with this beautiful, it's somewhat of like a spear pointish drop point blade with this gorgeous swedge. And, you know, the action just makes this thing so, so good. And, you know, besides the action, even without the action, and by the way, it's going to be great right or left-handed. I do think that they made a huge mistake by not making a left-handed option as far as with the clip. But yeah, this, you know, is just a phenomenal user, and the heat treat felt good on the stone. We'll see it. I mean, so far it's been holding up really, really well. Vosteed, man, they are just killing it. So, you know, keep an eye on what they're doing because they are dropping heaters. Now, sticking with a little bit of that theme, we have the Archer. Now, this I don't think is in stock right now. Well, don't ever listen to me when I say that because I don't know when you're watching this. So check the links down in the description, and I'm not even positive. But this is the Archer from Tactile, USA made. This is expensive. This is about 600 bucks. But it is 600 bucks of greatness. They did a phenomenal job. Like if you could buy a Herman for $7, $8, $9, $1,000, this is right there with those. It's right there, in my opinion, with a lot of the other knives in that price range. You know, you got your Chris Reeves, you got your Spartans, you got your Koenigs, you got your Rosies, Holtz. Just saying, like, this is right there with those knives. Like, look at this action. Watch this. This thing is like an absolute guillotine. And the detent, oh man, they did send this one to me, so I should put a disclaimer there. So it could be the best version that's ever existed. I don't know, but mine is just absolutely top notch. I've only handled this one. The whole deployment, super good. Thumb flick is great. It does have magnet cut steel. He treated 63 to 64 HRC. They did really well with the edge retention test. Not this knife, but just, you know, their steel period. I have sharpened it, as you can see. And it has a titanium frame lock with their, well, not their traditional, but traditionally they do this incredible micro milling on their knives, hence Tactile. And you can see, like, right down the lock bar. I love that. It almost looks like a feather. Then it has phenomenal access to the lock bar too. Very comfortable flipper tab, perfect detent. Titanium mill pocket clip that works great in and out of the pocket. Titanium backspacer, and it says Tactile on there. Very ergonomic. My one complaint, or my biggest complaint I should say, is that there's no sharpening choil. Somebody actually had one, and they said that theirs did have one, so maybe they fixed it. I don't know, but you can see I made a smile. This is why I like my plunge grinds being far away from the edge. You see how I sharpened into the plunge right there? That's a smile, because it's sharpening into the plunge grind, making it kind of, you know, like a smile does, how it lifts up. But you know, this is only the first sharpening, so, you know, the second sharpening, it'll look even more ridiculous, but I can fix it. So that's really, for me personally, it's an easy fix with a Dremel, but to a lot of people, it might not be, but, you know, maybe they're already fixing it. Either way, this is an absolute incredible knife. Oh yeah, by the way, it is a straight back, so it's not a drop point, but the way it arches, I don't know if that's why the name is the Archer, but the way it arches, it is really easy to get to the tip and very good in the hand for slicing. Like, it just leans into the cuts. Now, this knife is constantly being compared to this knife, which is one of my, well, actually it was my favorite knife of 2023. I believe there's some available right now in the plain version, which is absolutely beautiful. This is the Neeves, the We Knife Co. Neeves, running 20 CV and a titanium frame lock, and there's multiple different versions, including inlay versions, but it is a limited edition, so whatever's left in stock is the colors they have. They're gonna probably drop new colors, you know, but anyways, as you can see, they have some similarities a little bit, and people ask me, which one's better, which one's better? Well, hands down, this one is. First off, it's USA made, but even if you take that away, there's just more here. And that's what I love about it, because it's like, when you look at some of these overseas knives that are made like this, if this was made in the USA, I know how much this would cost. This would be $600, $700, $800, $900, $1,000, you know, even. So because of that reason, you know, you look over here at this, which is that price, you know, $600, you expect it to be as good as this or better, and it is. So, and the heat treatment's better. But this knife right here, man, the leverage point on this flipper tab, without even using the detent, like look at how far it pushes out, but without the detent, I can flip it every time reliably. It's halfway out, and I'm not using a detent. So imagine it being up, way up there, and now having a detent. That thing smacks. Beautiful clip point 20 CV blade with the hand satin finish, very thin behind the edge. The titanium frame lock is very ergonomic. It does have this little hump right here, but I personally don't mind it. It winds up working out just fine. My biggest complaint is the lock bar access. I wish it had a little bit more, but it doesn't bother me. It's still good. But the hole deployment also works great. They tuned, in my opinion, the action extremely well on this one. And the titanium mill pocket clip, super smooth and out of the pocket. I've carried the hell out of this thing. You know, it's already been sharpened, I think, twice, but yeah. Now, again, if you look at this, it's probably going to resemble a little bit of this guy, the Ferrum Forge Archbishop 3.0. I've talked about it for a while. It's a no-brainer, this one right here. They're about $280, but it's a Ferrum Forge design that is made by WE, but I don't know if it's the simplicity of it or if we just, you know, they treat Ferrum Forge really well because they have a good relationship, but they did these perfectly. I mean, these are so good. I've tried multiple of them. Every single one has felt the exact same. The break from this detent with this particular flipper tab, which, you know, Ferrum Forge really went in on designing the flipper tab to make sure that it was super comfortable and had a great leverage point, and boy, does it. Then you have the hole deployment, again, equally as good. And like I said, that is something that really stands out on a knife. Now, admittedly, I did have this reground because the original, or when it comes stock, it is a little bit robust. But, you know, it's kind of supposed to be a little bit of a tougher knife. Ferrum Forge usually does that. But for $60 from BGM Knife and Tool, he's a knife maker. He does regrinds. So you can contact him, tell him I sent you. I'm not going to get anything out of it, but you can tell him Neeves Knives sent you, and it takes about a week. That's it. So send him your knife, and about a week later, you'll get it back, and it'll be $60. You can get a deep hollow grind. Man, this thing is super thin behind the edge. Way thinner than it was. Beautiful plunge grind. Look at that. He just did it perfectly. But look at how smooth this thing is. The only issue is the clip is a little tight. It's not a deal breaker. It's not horrifying, but it does, you know, sometimes if you have thick jeans, it can kind of catch on this a little bit, but that's kind of easy to avoid if you just kind of turn it a little bit. That's really never too much of an issue for me. It's just, you know, it's a stubby clip, you know, so, but you see how it has the clamshell construction. But anyways, yeah, this, like I said, no-brainer, absolute banger. And then, you know what, really quick, I'm not going to talk too much about this, but do you guys remember this knife? If you guys been around for a while, this is the WE Malice, which is another Ferrum Forge design. As you can see, a lot of similarities here. There's actually a button lock mini version that WE Knife Co has in stock right now, the mini Malice. This is the original Malice, which, well, the original production Malice, which is discontinued. But my goodness, this thing is amazing. I think I might wind up selling it here soon. I've had it for a while, and it's in perfect condition. It's been sharpened one time, and it's just a beautiful example of it. I just kind of save it now. I mean, it's not that I don't use it or won't use it. It's just, you know, I have a lot of knives, so, and that one's discontinued, but I know a lot of people love it. Next. Oh, let's go to this guy. So, really quick, I wanted to put, because of us doing all these knives that have this similar kind of style to it that I do think a lot of people love, I wanted to put my quiet carry drift large in this, but I couldn't because I can't find it. I have no idea where it went. It's driving me absolutely nuts. I don't know. I must have put it in a different box, the wrong box, and put it away. And now in order for me to find it, I'm gonna have to go through all my knife boxes. That's the only thing I can think of, because where it typically sits, it is not there, and it's like it's just fallen off the face of the earth. So I placed this one here. This is the Drift LC, and this is for what does that stand for? I think light carry or something. It is LC200N. which is an awesome steel. They a lot of times use Vanax, but this one is the LC200N. Titanium frame lock, G10 show side, beautiful access to the lock bar, very, very smooth, phenomenal detent. I will be honest, the thumb flick is the better option in this one. The reverse flick is fine, it works great, but the edge is a little slick. It's a little smooth. I wish it was sharp on the edge. So that's really the only, it's not even an issue. That's the only thing I could really even nitpick about because everything else is just super good. I mean, maybe a better plunge grind, but it's good. The clips on these were great. They put the lock bar cutout on the inside, so the clips are stupid smooth. Yeah. Great slicer, great ergonomics. This one would be more of their tougher use knives, and I say that because they like to do insane thin geometry, which I frickin' love. Look at how thin this blade is compared to this one. These are both quiet carries. Now, this knife comes in a few different versions. This is the quiet carry Waypoint Large. One of my favorite knives right now. Because I can't stop carrying it. I adore this knife. It is like my style all the way around. I love this blade shape. I love the grind. It's 90 thousandths thick, the blade stock thickness. And on top of having a 90 thousandths thick blade stock, it has a deep hollow grind on it. So it gets down to like 8-10 thousandths behind the edge. And it's so slicey with this geometry. It has a clip point blade. It is Vanax too. That's another thing that's awesome. This is one of the best steels you can get on a pocket knife. Titanium scales with this this milling on there that almost equals like a file. Like it's so, I love it. I think this texture is so good because it's not sharp to where it's going to bother you, but it's grippy. And then obviously titanium side over here with a deep carry wire clip that is reversible, and it has a liner that is LC200N. So the blade steel from this is the liner on this one. Now, the one thing is it is on washers, but look at how smooth mine has gotten. And being the large, they increased the size of the thumb studs. It increased basically the length and size of everything, but not the thickness, which is what I love so much because the original Waypoint was so slim, but it was just a little too small for me to be like the best. This is like the perfect size. Now there is a the large Waypoint contoured, which is a thicker, more robust version. It has a thicker blade stock. It still has a hollow grind, still the same shape, same length, but it's thicker and more robust and comes with G10. And is that titanium frame lock? I think that one's a frame lock. But awesome, awesome, awesome knife. And again, man, so slim. This is like the easiest knife to carry. That's another reason why I love it so much, is because one, it's a no-brainer to pick up. Like when you grab it, you know when you put it in your pocket, you have a knife that's going to serve you well. This is a super slicer, and when I'm breaking down cardboard or something, I want something like this. The next thing is the pocket clip's going to work no matter what. Super smooth. So it's on a smooth texture, so I never have to worry about it binding up. And you know, I think about that all the time. I'll go to grab a knife, like, is this going to tear my pockets up? Because I'm so sick of tearing pockets at this point, because there's so many knives that have amazing clips. Why do I want one that's going to, you know, eventually wear my pocket in, even if it's slowly? I recently did a full video on this, at least at the time when I'm posting it. This video, so I'm going to briefly speak about this one, but this is the new WE Nitro OG, the original, even though the original one from the production line from WE Knife Co. was a mini. So this is a large version of the WE Nitro, and I can't say enough good things about this one. The clip is super smooth in the pocket. I love the length, the ergonomics, and it's so slim in the hand, but yet perfect. Slightly contoured, very, very ergonomic, nice and slicey. I love the swedge on the blade, 20 CV. Redunculous action, and the action has only gotten better and better and better. The more I open it, the more like it seems like the detent gets stronger. And I'm just loving it. When I first opened it, I thought the detent felt a little bit light, but now I'm like, holy cow, this thing, it's great. It's so amazing. Very comfortable flipper tab, perfect positioning on the thumb studs. And, you know, recently, Outdoors 55, shout out to Alex, go and subscribe to his channel. He has an awesome channel. Me and him recently did a video together. It's up on his members page, so if you sign up to his membership, you can watch that video. It's actually in 2 parts because it was like 3 hours. We hung out and you know, talked all kinds of stuff. So if you want to check that out, go and subscribe to his channel and follow his membership. You know, it's only a few bucks, a couple bucks for a month. So anyways, my point is that he tested 2 We Knife Co knives recently with the HRC tester, and they came up, one was 61 and one was 61.5. So that's pretty awesome to see. We want to see them drop it between 61 and 62. They do have them labeled between, I think, like 58 and 61, or 58 and 62, or 59 and 62, something like that. But the reason why it's such a wide range is because the coated blades are always going to be lower than the plain blades, because when they put the coating on there, it lowers the HRC. So there's just nothing they can do about that. So that's why you'll see that. But happy to see, you know, the HRC come out the way it did. Titanium bolster lock, 20 CV, carbon fiber, comes in 4 different options. Like I said, watch my full video on this. This is like, it's such a good knife, man. And then the AD10, the Cold Steel AD10, but there's something special on this one, and that is these titanium original goat scales. You can also get the aluminum ones and save some money. These are USA made scales. They do an amazing job. Original goat scales, I've found that they are top notch. The fitment, the everything about them as far as being quality and fitting the knife is off the charts. I've dealt with a lot of aftermarket scales, and I've had a lot of issues too. A lot of them don't fit perfectly. The centering sucks. All different types of reasons. But original goats, man, they work, man. And having titanium scales on a knife, even if it was aluminum, having metal scales on a knife this damn tough. And if you don't know about the Cold Steel's Triad Lock, look it up. It is one of, if not the strongest locking system on a knife. It is so incredibly strong. You're not going to break it. Then you have this thick, robust, heavy-duty, hard-use blade that's actually hard use. A lot of knives, they'll come super robust, super thick, but they're not real hard-use knives. You know, the blade you can maybe be tough on, but the lock isn't going to support the blade. This will. And then with these titanium scales, it might even make it more stronger. I don't know. I would love to see one of these tested with the titanium scales, because I bet it would be even tougher. The ergonomics are like as good as you can get on a knife. Like, it's so comfortable. I do feel the clip a little bit, but it doesn't bother me. You can choke up. It has a spear point blade with a swedge. It also comes in a Tanto version, which has a dual grind on it, which is originally what I bought when I got this. They sent me this one, and I was just too lazy to return it. Thumb stud action is great. I like the Triad Lock, and I'm not a backlock fan. Like, I don't even like backlocks, but the Triad Lock is just fidgety because they place the lock in the middle, and you can let it drop. They usually leave a spot for you to let it hit your finger, and then you can slap it shut. So, pretty cool. By the way, the Triad Lock, the reason why it's so strong for a backlock, because it's not a traditional backlock. Backlocks, you know, it's basically this key right here that drops down into the groove of the blade, but these guys added a stop pin, which makes it to where it wedges in between that, so all the pressure goes, well, basically to the, it basically gets stronger when there's pressure. So when you apply pressure, all it's doing is getting stronger and stronger and stronger. So, and as time goes on, it only gets stronger and stronger. This one's the AUS 10, but they do come in S35 VN, and, you know, there's a bunch of different Cold Steel models with different steels, but this is the affordable one. This is the one I recommend the most because, you know, unless if you can get the S35 for a really good deal, this one comes lightweight, so it comes with FRN scales. So if you're gonna get aftermarket scales already, I think this is the better way to go. You're going to save money on the knife, and you know, AUS 10's a great steel. There's nothing wrong with AUS 10. It's a good steel. It's more of a mid-grade steel, while S35VN would be more of a premium steel, but it would be on the lower end of premium steels. So, yeah, to me, the money just isn't worth it, because this isn't a mega slicer to me. This is a hard-use knife, a tough knife, basically a tough tool. So I'm not really looking for mega edge retention with this one. I'm looking for, you know, the robustness. But anyways, that's it, guys. There you guys go. Work hard, stay tough. Until next time, peace.